Between the continents of North and South America lies the Darien Gap, a dense, lawless jungle with no roads and no security from the cartels and paramilitaries that control it. I'd spent the last 2 years cycling from Alaska down to Panama, but at the Darien Gap, my road hit a dead end. Most travellers fly across to Colombia, but having shipped my bike ahead on a cargo boat, I decided that kayaking 250 kilometers along the coastline would be the most interesting way to cross. I wouldn't be doing it alone either, as I'd invited my sister Anna and my mate Ben to join me for what we hoped would be a couple of weeks of paddling through paradise. Ben had limited time to spare before he had to head home, but the real catch was that none of us had any kayaking experience whatsoever. We were heading out completely unsupported, without a guide, into one of the most notorious regions on the planet. I was optimistic that we'd learn on the job, but the wild ocean conditions would test our limits, forcing me to take some massive risks and ultimately leave me with the toughest physical challenge of my life. Having managed to find 3 kayaks in Panama City, we'd gotten a ride to the coast at Puerto de Carti, from where we'd be taking to the water. It would be 250 kilometers of paddling to reach the town of Capurganá, just over the border in Colombia. For the first 50 kilometers, we'd be island hopping through the heart of the beautiful San Blas archipelago, with sheltered waters and a constant safety net of sandy beaches. But once we pushed past that main cluster, the islands would drastically thin out. From there, we'd be facing long, totally exposed sections of open ocean, paddling right alongside the unforgiving coastline of the Darien Gap. So we have made it to the start point. Guys are just finishing packing up. I'm a little bit nervous. I've never done anything remotely like this. This is a whole completely new thing, a kayaking trip. I've never done this before, and I'm taking 2 people. 2 people that have also never done this before. And so I think if I were doing this by myself, I wouldn't really be too nervous, but with 2 people that I'm responsible for, that's a little bit intimidating. And obviously I can't show that because if I look nervous, they're gonna get nervous. So I've just gotta hold it together. But anyway, I'm gonna feel a lot better once we're actually out on the water. Hopefully this goes smoothly. We can launch, we can get there. And yeah, I just can't wait to get going. So we have run into problems. We have been told that it's completely forbidden for us to be in the water here in kayaks. And we are trying to figure out a way around this. So yeah, very frustrating. Ben is currently resorting to desperate measures to get some kayaking in. But yeah, we'll figure it out. It's not a great start. Well, we have now been here at the port for about 6 hours. There have been a number of twists and turns, but essentially they have told us that we absolutely under no circumstances are allowed to leave the port with our kayaks. We're not even allowed to put the kayaks onto boats or a boat to then take us out of the port to an island. They've refused to let us do that either. Seems like the issue is basically just the port. Once we're out to sea, the islands, there's no problem. We're allowed to have kayaks. It's just the port, and they're being really, really difficult, unfortunately. We have decided to just feign defeat. So we have said that we're just hanging around, basically waiting for a truck to take us back to Panama City. And we've been told by a few other people that they leave about 5:30, everyone goes home. So what we're gonna do is just wait till everyone leaves, tell them we're gonna hang around until the truck comes, and then once we're clear, once the coast is clear, once they've gone, we are gonna get into the water and get out of here as quickly as we can, and hopefully get at least to the first island before it gets dark. And once we're out of here, hopefully we'll have no more problems. So it's now nearly 6 p.m. and we're still waiting for the last people to leave.
Good thing we got up so early, eh?
Yeah, we've now been up for about 13 hours and we still haven't kayaked anywhere. But yeah, there's still a few people around. The last boats are just, I think, in the process of leaving. So we are just gonna have to wait for them to leave so that we can then launch from here. But the issue is there's only about another 30 minutes until the sun sets now, and we have a 2.5 kilometer paddle into the wind to reach the next island. So we're gonna have to just do it and hope for the best.
The first time we use our kayak.
This is also the first time that we're using these kayaks. We have not had any opportunity to test this.
I haven't been kayaking years.
And none of us have really done any kayaking before, and it's quite choppy out there. It's quite windy. What could go wrong? With the last of the light, the remaining dock workers finally went home, and we seized our opportunity to launch, pushing off and paddling away as quietly as we could. Navigating foreign waters in brand new, heavily loaded kayaks in the dark is definitely not recommended, but feeling the boats finally moving forward, slipping away completely unnoticed, the sheer excitement took over, and honestly, we were all having a blast. We'd made a clean getaway, and miraculously, in that first hour, we didn't have a single mishap. The good news is we have made it to the first island, we have escaped the port, and this adventure is finally just about on track. We'd met a local named Ernesto back at the port, and he'd kindly said that should we successfully pull off our glorious escape to freedom, we'd be able to stay at his home on the first island. When we finally landed, we managed to track him down and take him up on his offer. The island itself was heavily built up, a far cry from the empty, sandy paradise we'd been hoping to spend our first night on, but we were able to buy some dinner before collapsing into our hammocks for some massively overdue sleep. Come sunrise, we packed up the boats, waved Ernesto and our first island goodbye, and pushed out for our first proper day on the water. So it is the end now of day 2 on this trip. We have been going into a really strong headwind all day today, so we haven't actually covered that much ground. It's been really tough going, just battling into the wind. It's been very choppy. We're all sunburned and battered and tired, but we have made it. So we are now on a really beautiful island where we have gained permission to camp, which is great. So we are going to be camping on the island today, and then we're just going to hope for better weather in the morning, hope for better wind. But yeah, absolutely incredible out here, just going from island to island, and it's a huge relief to actually be away from the areas where we were told we weren't allowed to be, and now we are hopefully free and clear just to paddle every day, and our main enemy is going to be the wind rather than bureaucracy, which is a nice change. But the San Blas Islands, finally, absolutely spectacular, and it feels so good to be actually out here and to be moving. We are really not getting lucky. So this morning it has been incredibly windy again, a lot of chop in the waves, and we would have to paddle straight into the wind. And in these conditions, I actually think it would be quite dangerous. It'd be really easy to flip in these conditions. So we've decided to wait and hope that the wind calms down. But yeah, I mean, we are averaging really slow speeds. I mean, we're lucky to do 1.5, 2 kilometers an hour into this. So at this rate, I have no idea how we're going to get to Colombia unless it calms down a lot. We're not going to have time, we're not going to have food to get there. But for now, all we can really do is just sit and wait and hope that the weather gets better. Really not looking good. I am just checking the wind, the weather forecast, and it is looking like it's going to be 25 kilometer an hour head and side winds. And tomorrow looks even worse. So I'm not really sure what we're going to do. We're going to have to just wait and see, and I guess just hope it gets better, because right now there is absolutely no way that we are kayaking into this. It is really important to keep checking the weather forecast to see if there are any storms coming, because that would be the biggest danger, to get caught in a storm out in the open water here. To keep that connection, I am using an eSIM from Airalo, which is the sponsor for this video. It works in over 200 countries and regions, so you're good pretty much anywhere in the world. For a trip like this, I'm using their Latin America regional plan, which is a massive help because it covers both Panama and Colombia. As we paddle across the border, it'll automatically switch between networks without me having to do anything, so I don't have to worry about finding signal and switching up to a new plan. That's a really big deal on a journey like this, as there is no way that I could buy a physical Colombian SIM along the way. I have tried other options, but Airalo is the most reliable for me,
The app is really clean, and I can also use it as a hotspot for my laptop if I need to. eSIMs are so fast and simple to use these days, and having used them all over the planet, I would really recommend giving them a go. You can download the Airalo app today, and it'll be ready to go the next time you're out on an international trip. I've put a link in the description so you can take a look at some options. You can use my code TristanRid3 for a $3 discount off your first eSIM, and you can also check out the QR code here.
We woke up to exactly what we'd been expecting, more bad weather. The clouds eventually broke in the afternoon, but the wind was still howling, so we made the call to just stay put and take a rest day. It was a little bit frustrating to lose our momentum, but honestly, none of us were really complaining. We had a beautiful island to ourselves and everything we needed. There are definitely worse things than being stranded in paradise. By dawn, the ocean had calmed down just enough to give us a window. A few heavy clouds lingered, but we decided to pack up and push on. Paddling into a headwind was a slog, but we were getting more comfortable with it, and with so many islands clustered together, we were never too far from a bailout beach if things turned nasty. We'd also swapped the kayaks around to balance out our speeds, and with our pacing finally clicking, we were actually starting to make up some solid distance. It is just crazy beautiful out here in the San Blas. It's just island to island, and what an amazing way to see this place is just to kayak 3 kilometers and then land on the next island, take a little break, have a look around paradise, get back on the water and then kayak another 3 kilometers to the next island and carry on. And all of the people that we've met on these islands have been so kind and so friendly that most of the islands do seem to have something going on. So tonight we're camping on this little island. We're, apart from the guys who I guess own this place or run this island resort type situation, there's no one else other than us here, which is great. So we have it to ourselves. The guys are super friendly and they're going to do us some dinner tonight, which is lovely. So yeah, all in all, it's been a really good day. Day 6 was more or less exactly what we'd signed up for. The Caribbean was relatively calm for most of the day, showing off the San Blas at its absolute best. We followed this incredible shoulder of reef that ran from island to island right through the archipelago. The sky was clear, morale was high, and we were finally able to just take it in, appreciate the beauty of travelling by kayak. So this is day 6, and I have some good news and some really terrible news. The good news is that for the most part, it's been a great day. The weather has been really kind today. We've, for the most part, had good, calm weather, and the kayaking today has been absolutely sensational. Incredibly beautiful out here with the reef and these islands, just hopping from one island to the next. So unbelievably beautiful out here. It is just paradise. And we finished the day camped on what might be the most beautiful island we've seen so far today. It is almost a perfect circle. It is uninhabited. It's only about 50 meters from one end to the other, just surrounded by beach. And it is so breathtakingly beautiful here and such an incredible spot to camp here in paradise. But the bad news is that my sister Anna has badly injured her right wrist. Seems like it's a repetitive strain injury. She seems to have damaged a tendon, we think, but her right wrist has now swollen up quite a bit, and she's at the point now where she's in pain anytime she grips anything with her right hand. And yeah, it's realistically not going to be possible for her to go much further on a kayak. The trouble with wrist injuries is that even if we stop for a few days and give it time to heal up, it's not going to heal up enough in 2 days because it is actually swollen now. And it seems like this has happened probably because of maybe her paddling form wasn't quite right. And by the time she figured out that it wasn't right, she had done herself this pretty serious injury. So unfortunately, what this means is that her trip is done, at least as far as the kayaking goes, because yeah, she's not really going to be able to go any further. So tomorrow we are going to give her a tow. We've got some rope, we're going to tie her boat to mine, and I'm going to basically row both of us, or paddle both of us, to the nearest island, which is only a kilometre or so away. And it seems like there's some kind of settlement there. So hopefully we're going to be able to get to that settlement, and then we're going to be able to organise to get her a boat to take her to the next major settlement, the next town basically. And then we'll meet up there, and yeah, and then she's still got a fair bit of time, so she's going to have to do something else. But kayaking is not going to be an option anymore. Pushing further would just risk injuring her in the long term, so it just doesn't make sense. We've moved all of her stuff into the slowest kayak, the really heavy one that I've been paddling for the last few days, and I'm going to continue in the kayak that she'd been using, which is quite a bit faster. But yeah, really sad. She's obviously struggling a lot with this. It's pretty devastating. She's dealing with it really well, and she's been a champion today. Injuries, yeah, this really sucks. So that's it, she's gone. Managed to trade her kayak for breakfast and a boat ride to the next big place, which is a hell of a bargain for the guys here on the island. But anyway, at least she's good, she's sorted. Really sucks that she isn't able to go any further, but this morning her hand has just been terrible. It's been really, really painful. So she definitely has got as far as she possibly could have, and further than she probably should have. So it is what it is. But anyway, we need to get on the water and get going.
Now down to just the two of us, Ben and I pushed on. The sea was once again calm, and we navigated a series of islands and reefs, dropping in on a few small settlements as we went. The scenery was incredible, and after a week of surviving on mostly dry kayak rations, we were even treated to a little bit of luxury.
So I cannot believe it, but we have found fruit on a random island in the middle of nowhere. Not today, Scurvy, not today. I think we've genuinely just arrived in paradise. We've just been paddling on the first glassy water that we've found on this entire trip. I mean, it's genuinely almost a mirror out there right now. This is the dream that we've been waiting for. And yeah, it's just absolute bliss. So yeah, what an amazing day. It's just such a shame that my sister couldn't be here to join this, because this is the best paddling we've had so far, and she's not here, which really sucks.
In the end, the island was just too good to pass up, and not wanting to leave, we decided to set up camp. It turned out to be a great call. The wind had picked up aggressively by the next morning, and after checking the forecast, we decided to take one last rest day in paradise before an early start for what would be our biggest push of the trip so far. We had a 21-kilometer slog to reach the end of the main San Blas chain, where Anna was waiting for us. This was also going to be Ben's final day in the kayak, as he was pretty much out of time and needed to start making his way back to Panama City for his flight home to England. We'd been able to stay in contact, and Anna had told us she'd spent the last couple of days making friends with the locals in the small island community of Tikantiki where she'd been staying. This entire archipelago is actually the sovereign territory of the Guna people, an indigenous group that operates almost entirely independently of Panama and has fought hard to keep their traditional culture intact. Anna had gotten to know a few of them, including a guy named Renato, who'd more or less adopted her, and who kindly offered to take us out for a tour of the area once we'd arrived.
Hola. Buenas. So this runway, I've been told, was built a long time ago, completely by hand. The last time any planes landed here, I think, was 2000, they said. This whole town where we are now was only built in 1940, and it was 5 families, and now it's this thriving settlement. But dreams of attracting tourism don't seem to have really materialized. I think we are the only tourists that have appeared in this place for a very long time. But yeah, just really interesting way of life out here. They told me that there are no toilets in the town, so if people need to take a leak, they just go in the sea. And if they need a number 2, they pretty much have to take it off the island because there's no kind of sewage system, and obviously they don't want to put that in the sea. So it ends up having to just go, I guess they either leave the island and then do their business, or they use some kind of, I don't know, use a pot or something, or a bucket, and then they have to transport it off the island and dump it in the woods. So yeah, every time they want to go, they have to worry about this. Yeah, it makes you think how useful a sewage system is. This whole place is really interesting. The Guna people here, so interesting, so friendly. And this runway is actually pretty incredible considering it was made by hand. I mean, it's in better condition than most British roads.
Todos los Sunday, todos Sunday, todos los domingos.
See?
Barrer.
Ah. So I've just asked about all the rubbish on the beaches, and he told me that basically for the year 2000, these beaches were perfectly clean. There was no rubbish whatsoever. And since then, it's all just started washing in from sea. And it's all just sitting here. Well, I was robbed today, so that's the thing. Ben and Anna have now both made their way to their respective destinations by boat. So I am back to being solo for the rest of this trip. I'm now past the much more sheltered island section, the sort of main part of the San Blas. And this is going to be, I think, it for mostly the next few days. There's going to be a few more islands here and there, but mostly it's going to be coastline. But yeah, this morning I woke up and I packed up, and I realized that a dry bag which I'd left next to my kayak containing my food and my stove was gone. And yeah, upon inspection of the area, fortunately, I did find the dry bag not too far away from where they had taken it. And they'd evidently opened up the dry bag, they checked inside, they had decided it wasn't worth stealing, and they just basically grabbed a few bits of food and left everything else. So it had some water in it because it had been left basically floating in the water next to the coast, next to the bank. But everything's fine, most of the food is okay. I've had to throw away a few bits that got water in there, but most of it's okay. That is sort of my own fault. I should have had it closer to my tent, but I guess it seemed safe, seemed like a quiet sort of place, seemed like people were honest, and most of them are for sure. But evidently there is theft, so it's a good lesson. I need to be much more careful with all of my stuff. No harm done really, no real harm done. Yeah, the water today has been tough. It's kind of kicked my ass, to be honest. There's a lot of big waves out there that are a little bit scary on a small kayak. But anyway, yeah, making progress, and this is going to be it, I think, for the next few days. It's going to be just making my way around the coast. I'm tired. So I've kayaked about 40 kilometers, or just over 40 kilometers today. And it's been quite a beautiful coastline, but it's been tough kayaking. And it is now only 90 kilometers to the last town in Panama is the border town. And yeah, I'm definitely feeling like I'm ready to be done now. Like it's been now, I guess, what are we on? Must be about 10 days since I started, something like that. and I am definitely feeling like I am ready to not be sandy and salty. I'm ready to take a shower. Yeah, I haven't been clean for about a week and a half, so that's gonna feel amazing. Yeah, I'm ready to be done. Well, this adventure is now firmly into the type 2 fun category. I am suffering today. This kayak, it can flip so easily, and it takes a lot of core stability to just keep it upright in the rough seas. So it's just, the whole body is just taking pressure the whole time. And one mistake out there on the rough water and the kayak flips, and potentially you're in real trouble there if the kayak flips, especially with this kayak, because if it gets filled with water out there somewhere rough, I can't just flip it back over and get back in. Like it's potentially a big problem with this kayak. So yeah, it's been quite scary today, and being out here by myself on these pretty rough coastlines. Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a worry, especially when I'm not feeling too energetic, because yeah, I'm just really feeling tired. The last 3 days of big days of paddling have taken their toll, and I'm suffering here a little bit. Yeah, that's when you know it's an adventure, right? If it was easy, everyone would do it. So that was really bloody scary. My kayak just flipped, and I got dragged across the coral. My boat got fully submerged for a good sort of 15 seconds before I could get to it and flip it back up, and it's full of water. I managed to drag it into shore, pretty cut up on my feet and legs from getting dragged on the coral. Bloody hell, that was scary as hell. The good news is that it looks like the hatches have done their jobs and not much water has gotten in, so my stuff remains dry. So thank God the combination of my dry bags and the hatches have kept all the important stuff dry, especially my electronics are still alive. And yeah, I can just pump all the water out of the main cockpit. Oh, bloody hell, that was scary though. That was not good. It was exactly what I was afraid of. It's just so powerful out there today. I probably shouldn't even be out there. I'm tired and I'm not at my best, and it's rough as hell out there, so ooh, that's a wake-up call. This is no joke. Well, today has been really scary. Really rough seas, very rocky, scary looking coastline. And yeah, the sort of illusion got popped yesterday because of this tumble that I took. I'm now so aware of how dangerous it is and how easy it is to have a big problem, to flip. It's literally just one mistake, one lapse in concentration out there in those conditions, and you lose your balance and the kayak goes over, and once it's gone over, you're screwed. It's really brought home that this is risky. This is not safe what I'm doing here. There's a not negligible chance that something goes really wrong doing this. Before I started this trip, I had a lot of questions, people asking how dangerous it was, and was it the Darien Gap, is that not really dangerous? And I mean, I am now basically I've now crossed into the Darien province. So this coastline that I'm paddling past now, this is the Darien Gap. But actually, yeah, the dangers of crossing the gap by land don't really apply to doing this coastal crossing. Drug smuggling obviously is happening here, and I mean, I've seen a lot of boats go past and I have no idea, some of them could have been drug runners for all I know, but I don't think they have any interest in me. So I'm not overly concerned about human danger out here. I'm not really worried that I'm going to get attacked or kidnapped, but the danger is from the sea, and I knew that going in, but I've just been, I think, so unlucky with the conditions. It's just been big seas most of the time. I really haven't had much calm water, and I've had to just get on with it. I don't have the time to wait. Yeah, I was really scared out there today, and there were a few points where I felt like I was on the edge and could have gone very differently. And yeah, you have to ask, is it worth it? Is it smart to be taking these risks? You know, I think it is. I do really want to be out here, even though it's frightening and brutal. Like, my whole body is suffering so badly right now. Like, the last hour, I just so badly wanted to be out of that kayak. My whole body was screaming at me. I mean, I've done a lot of kilometers over the last 4 or 5 days without a break, so my whole body is really suffering now. But even so, yeah, I want to be out here. I mean, this kind of trip, there's a risk attached to it for sure, but I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it, because scared though I was definitely feeling alive as well. And I think that's why you do these kinds of things, to push limits and to feel alive. I can see on the other side of the bay, I can't see the town, but I can see roughly where it is, the last major stop in Panama. And yeah, this morning was really, really bloody scary. Had this 7-kilometer section going around this rocky outcropping, I guess you'd call it. And honestly, I was bloody terrified out there this morning. The sea was absolutely horrible. This was a cauldron this morning, just a boiling cauldron. And literally, yeah, I mean, there were a couple of points where I was so close to tipping over, and the consequence rate is really high out there. I could lose everything I have. I could get smashed against the rocks. Yeah, I didn't want to be out there today. I don't think I should have been out there today. This was way too big of a risk. But anyway, I have made it through unscathed, thank God. And now I only have one more long paddle to make it through to the last stop in Panama, where there is going to be a hotel room with a shower and air conditioning waiting for me. And this bay that I'm in now, it seems like it's a lot more protected. It's not getting the same, it doesn't look as rough out there. So hopefully I'm going to be able to finish this or get to the end point, and then I've got one more day. But yeah, God, this was really, really scary this morning. That, I think, is definitely the biggest risk I've taken in a very long time. This was really, really, really risky. Anyway, I need to have a bit of a rest now because I'm exhausted. And then I've got this final big section. Just got to hope the sea stays calm enough to let me do it and make it through safely. So that was physically up there for sure, amongst the absolute hardest things, physically hardest things I've ever done in my life.
Oh my God, I'm so spent.
Well, I have made it to Puerto Obaldía and I have a hotel room for the night. So I am showered and clean for the first time in 2 weeks. Today was absolutely brutal. Oh, I genuinely don't think I have ever felt so pushed physically as I did today. Yeah, it ended up being 17 kilometers without a break into a headwind and just, yeah, no opportunity whatsoever to take a break. Oh, my body is just physically broken. I'm just so exhausted. I mean, for me, when I know I'm really pushing the limit is when I resort to things like counting. Like, you know, counting paddle strokes, just counting 1 to 200 and then getting to 200 and then giving myself like a 5-second break, which is really all I could afford, and then start again and go back to 200. Because kayaking's slow, into the wind you go really slow, and yeah, at least that way you feel like you're getting somewhere because you can't really visibly see that you're moving. Christ, I'm absolutely knackered. So I've decided to take a rest day tomorrow because I just don't think I can go anywhere tomorrow. I think I really just need to give my body a break. I have no idea how many days it's been since I last took a break, but I know it must be at least 150 kilometers in the past, 6-7 days. Oof, God, just, yeah. It's just been a lot. So anyway, I'm happy I made it. Really, really happy to be here. So tomorrow's going to be a rest day, and then it's only another 15 kilometers around the point and over the border into Colombia.
Well, so much for a rest day. I really, really wanted a rest day today, but upon waking up and checking the weather forecast, it seems like there are some big storms coming this evening and rolling into the next 3 or 4 days. It is looking like it's going to be really stormy, and basically the reality is that if I don't go this morning, I will not be able to go for at least another 4 days, or likely won't be able to go for at least another 4 days. And I don't really have time to wait because my bicycle is being shipped to Cartagena, and if I wait another 4 days, it is going to get there ahead of me, which means I'm going to have a nightmare trying to figure out how to collect it without being even in the country. So even though I really, really don't want to be kayaking today, this is what I've got to do, I think. If I'm going to finish this in a kayak and not on a boat, I'm just going to have to suck it up and finish the trip today. So that is what I'm doing. I've just been stamped out of Panama, no issues with immigration. So I'm getting packed up now, and I'm going to hit the water and try and get this done as quickly as possible. But one way or another, today is the last day. So fingers crossed it goes smoothly, because it is definitely not calm out there.
To my enormous relief, the ocean finally gave me a break. The waves were powerful, but the wind had dropped, so the surface was actually pretty calm. I was running on fumes, but I managed to push through, and after a couple of hours of pain, I paddled safely across the border.
Welcome to Colombia.
From there, it was just one final hour of slog to reach Cartagena, and finally, the finish line had arrived. I dragged my kayak up the beach, collapsed in the sand, and felt the relief wash over me. 250 kilometers of paddling, and the Darien Gap was finally behind me. The wildest leg of my journey was over.